Ladies and gentlemen, I used to be, and I'll explain why this is important, I used to be the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post. I used to be the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post. Why is that important to this segment? When I was a Bernie Sanders supporter, before I voted for President Trump, I didn't care about tax increases. I didn't care about economic growth. I didn't care about building communities through wealth and the wealth that is generated from economic growth, businesses, startups, mom and pop shops. I didn't even think in those terms. Entrepreneurs raising money to build a business. I never thought about that. I just thought about what was moral and what was just. And I said, if Medicare for all is moral, then you know what? It doesn't matter how much an increase in taxes might result. Then the Mercatus study said you'd have to double to triple tax collection, which would be an incredible increase in taxes. And then states, because of science, decided to, Democratic-run states with the highest unemployment rates, 13 of the highest unemployment rates in the country. The top 13 out of the top 14 highest unemployment rates are Democratic-run blue states. Okay. The economy is in the tank because Democrats said science told us to do so. The economy of red states, you can look, have the lowest unemployment rates. Go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Okay? That's not Trump's fault, by the way, that New York and New Jersey and other states, you can look. Go to any one of my uploads. Go to the description. I'm doing it right now. Okay? They update it every month. Go to H.A. Goodman on YouTube. You will see the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And in the description section, let's look at the last one. Facebook, Instagram, removed Trump interview with daughter-in-law Laura Trump. So let's go down. Description, unemployment rate for states, Bureau of Labor Statistics. South Dakota, Utah, Nebraska, Kansas, Idaho, 2.9% unemployment, 3% unemployment, 3.1% unemployment. Okay, you look, Hawaii has 9.2% unemployment. New York has 8.9% unemployment. So this is all, I'm giving you the backdrop here to critique Biden's tax increase and why President Trump is right for blasting the tax increase. They say, well, it's an infrastructure project that, let's just look at this for a second. Hawaii, 9.2% unemployment. New York, 8.9% unemployment. Connecticut, 8.5% unemployment. California, 8.5% unemployment. New Mexico, 8.3% unemployment. Nevada, 8.3%. These are all blue states. D.C., 8.1%. New Jersey, 7.6%. Then you have Louisiana, and then you have Illinois, Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts. All above 7% unemployment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of the top 13 states with the highest unemployment rates, reaching over 7% and 9% in Hawaii, 8.9% in New York. Now I want to read you an article in Reason. Here's how Biden's proposed tax increases will affect you. It seems some are just waking up to the size and scope of the president's federal tax plan. You're not assured that a major infrastructure project will slash unemployment in any of those states that I mentioned. Okay? That's number one. Number two, even if you believe that government, or even if you believe that tax increases are just and moral, how does this help the economy? How does it generate wealth? How on earth does it generate wealth? It doesn't generate wealth. The largest federal tax increase since 1942 is how the New York Times, in a front-page news article, is describing President Joe Biden's plan for the American economy. The Times doesn't specify precisely how it is measuring the size of the tax increase in terms of nominal or real dollars raised as a percentage of gross domestic product. Whatever the yardstick, it is newsworthy. One thing that made me this is an article from Ira Stoll in Reason. One thing that made me chuckle is that it's only now, months after the inauguration, that the Times is waking up to the scale of Biden's tax increase plan. Notice that they don't talk about increasing taxes. They wouldn't touch the Green New Deal legislation with a 10-foot pole. It was actually Trump and Pence that were bringing up the Green New Deal. Democrats are duplicitous and they're disingenuous. They tell the far left, yeah, vote for us. Eventually, we'll enact these laws, Medicare for all, and they don't. That's not what happens. One thing that made me chuckle is that it's only now, months after the inauguration, that the Times is waking up the scale of Biden's tax increase plans and sharing the news with its readership at the top of its Sunday front page. This is so even though Biden was fairly okay. Some voices had even been warning about it in advance of the election. Read Joe Biden's lips, new taxes was the headline of a July 2020 Wall Street Journal editorial. He has pledged a $4 trillion tax hike on almost all American families, which would totally collapse our rapidly improving economy, President Trump said in August 2020 at the Republican National Convention. Biden's plan to double the capital gains tax was the headline of one post. Okay, so why has the reaction, at least so far, been relatively muted? The pandemic, the protests, political chaos, all distracted from the tax issue. The radical nature of the Democratic primary field, Warren, Sanders, both favored a wealth tax, made Biden's tax increases, while vast, seem more moderate by comparison. And while Biden's tax plan adds up to a hefty hit overall, some of the pieces themselves seem incremental. He'd increased the top corporate rate to 28%. That's more than the current 21%, but still less than the 35% that applied between 1993 and 2017. Oftentimes what happens, if you increase the minimum wage or if you increase taxes, people get laid off. There's a reason why businesses, your $20 million venture capital people, don't want to unionize or tell even the socialist corporations run by people who claim to be socialists, interestingly, open up their corporation in Delaware, and they prevent people from forming a union. This is because, at the end of the day, money talks, and left-leaning morals walk. And so the bottom line is the dollar to a great many people on the left. They'll talk a big game. But here, Biden would increase the top corporate rate to 28%. That's more than 21%, but still less than 35% that applied between 1993 and 2017. He increased the top individual tax rate to 39.6%. That's up from the current 37%, but it's a rate that applied from 1993 to 2000 and again from 2013 to 2017, so it's not exactly unknown ground. The point, though, is that why would you increase taxes now? Even if I'm wrong, let's say I'm wrong. Let's say some wonderful liberal, morally superior liberal Democrat is saying, H.A. Goodman, you were never a Bernie Sanders supporter. And I explained why I was. When I was on the left, I didn't have, my mindset was just about being moral at any cost. Even though the quest for morality on the left is oftentimes mired in immorality, which is bizarre. It's a bizarre concept, but that's unfortunately the case. Does it make sense? Let's say I'm wrong about this, that Biden's infrastructure is fantastic. Why does he have to implement his infrastructure plan? I mean, I get it. Like, he doesn't want to wait till 2022 when Republicans get the House. But right now, when the economy needs to move up, to increase substantially, quickly, to get people back to work because science said you can't work. The two most extreme elements of Biden's tax plan each have political pitches behind them that are, okay, a 12.4% payroll tax. So Biden would apply a tax to incomes above 400,000. That's not the not the increase to 39.6% from 37% would be the real hit to high income earners in the Biden plan. The combined effect, the 39.6% plus 12.4% would be at the margin. The federal government would take 52% or more than half of dollars earned over $400,000. So you're talking about a lot of YouTubers who are wonderful socialists who make a lot more than that a year. Not myself, unfortunately, but you're talking about the Medicare for the $20 million venture capital people, likely a lot more than that, likely. Although I could be wrong. There's an additional Medicare tax of 3.8%, which would take the top federal margin tax rate up to 55.8%. Wow. To my mind, it's just on its face unjust for the federal government to take more than half of what anyone earns. I agree with that. I wouldn't have agreed with that when I was on the left, but I agree with that. And actually, like I said, it's really hilarious. You can look at the racial discrimination lawsuits that certain left-leaning companies are experiencing. They've set up their corporations in Delaware, yet they do business in the West Coast. How does that work? Wonder why. Maybe it's to save money in taxes. The political explanation of this by Democrats, though, is the combination of bring back the top individual rates we had under Clinton and Obama when you all did pretty well. Yeah, but we didn't have science tank the entire economy. It's unfair for Warren Buffett to pay a lower tax rate. Yeah. Again, if this economic growth is more important to me than, like, you're not going to get, wealth inequality was lessening, not increasing the first couple of years during President Trump's tenure. People were making money. The unemployment rate reached record lows. You could say, well, the rich were getting richer. It's like, rich are always getting richer. That's not even an argument. That's not even a rebuttal. The wealth gap lessens when people at the bottom of the economic ladder make more money, generate more wealth. Why are Democrats so concerned with, it's almost as if they want to keep people poor or not making a lot of money. Under President Trump, people were making money. And that's just, you can look at the economy. It was roaring. The stock market was at all-time highs, but that's not necessarily a way to judge the health of the economy. If the stock market's at an all-time high, you could say, well, you know what, it's just smoke and mirrors. But if the stock market's at an all-time high, while the unemployment rate is at an all-time low, or a 50 or 60-year low, that's pretty good. That means that the economy is pretty healthy. Then science came in. And interestingly enough, Democratic-run states that had the most draconian policies, that tanked their economy with gleeful exuberance, had the worst outcomes. Look at the New York Times statistics. They had the absolute worst outcomes. The other big piece of the Biden tax increase is a plan to bring the capital gains tax rate up to the earned income tax rate. Okay, so that's another thing. Then people don't sell their stocks or other assets, and they don't invest in companies, so they don't start companies. So that also affects the economy. But here, Biden campaign on that. I think it's about time we start rewarding work in this country, not wealth. Okay, typical Democratic Party line. Okay, the debate feels stale, but as a political matter, it's unresolved. The recent pattern has been Democrats overreach and raise taxes to the point where Republicans get annoyed and lower taxes, then the cycle repeats again. The tax cuts boosted economic growth. That's according to it was the Dallas Federal Reserve that did a study. I used to have the link before Trump's first impeachment on my site, in the description section. But all you heard, tax cuts weren't working. Tax cuts weren't working. This was while we had record low unemployment and record highs in the stock market. Okay, tax cuts weren't working. Tax cuts aren't working. It's like, no, they did work. And people spent money. And, it's adding to the deficit. What do you think Biden's programs are going to do? Add to the deficit. What do you think Medicare for All would have done? What do you think the Green New Deal would have done? So it's like, they always try to find any way to disparage Trump's policies. Again, for argument's sake, let's say I'm wrong about increasing taxes. Let's say overall it's good for the economy. Why now? Why? I mean, it's not good for the economy now. That's the objective truth. How could raising taxes be good when the economy is already in the gutter? Does that make any sense at all? Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. Thank you. Trump is right. Trump is right to blast the tax hike. Give me your thoughts.